So let's look into subtraction with tens part. It's not that complicated, similar to addition, just that we need to look into borrow. So we start off with subtracting the fraction part. If the first fraction is smaller than the second, then we need to borrow. And when we borrow, we add 10 like we do it in normal subtraction as well. Let me take an example, say 1, 2, and say this is 1, 8, 9. So what do we do? We borrow, right? 2 cannot be subtracted from 9, or 9 cannot subtract 2. So we borrow, and this becomes 0 and this becomes 12, right? Similarly with fractions as well. Okay. And again over here, when you're subtracting whole number, the new whole number has to be considered. Like over here, we have 0, and eventually this will get 10 unit from 4, and the 4 becomes 3. So these are your new whole numbers, is it not? So don't forget this aspect as well when you are subtracting. Right? So these are the two things that we need to keep in mind. One is when we are borrowing, you will get a new whole number, and when we borrow, 10 unit is added to the fraction part, and combine the final result, and don't forget the units. So let's have a look, a simple example. We have Shailaja hand, whose hand is 7 and 7/10, and her palm is 6 and 4/10, as shown in the picture. So this is the picture. So this is her hand, this is her palm. The question is, what is the length of her longest finger? That is the middle finger. So we need to figure out this length from here till here. That is the length that we need to figure out. So let's have a look. How do we do this? What operation should we do to figure out that length? We have to subtract this entire length with this small length to get the remaining part. And that's what we are doing. So these are different set of values. The next one is a different set of value. So length of the longest finger is equal to length of the hand minus length of the palm, right? So how do you do that? First is we need to have this picture clear, right? So what is that we are subtracting from what? With that in hand, then we'll move on to 12, 7/10 minus 6, 4/10. So first we'll start off with looking at, is our fraction subtractable? 7 and 4, yes, we can subtract that. This will give us 3. And then look at the integer. This is 6 and that many units. That's it. Now let's move on to second Shailaja's hand. So here too we are subtracting the same formula. I'm not going to write the formula. Okay, so that you guys can write. And now the numbers 12. Let me make some space. 12, 4/10, and we have 6, 7/10 getting subtracted. Can I subtract 4 and 7? No. 4 and 7 we can't. So we have to borrow. Okay. We have to borrow. So when we borrow, what will happen? This becomes 14/10 and 12 becomes 11. Similar to what we do with any normal subtraction. That is, we decrease. Let me take this example again. 4, 6, 2, and say 1, 2, and 9. So how do you subtract? We borrow from the tens place, and this becomes 12. Similarly, we are borrowing 1 from the integer value, and 4 becomes 14, and we have this. And this minus of this particular value, a line, and then the subtraction. 14 and 7 will give me 7 by 10. And we have 5. So we have 5 7 by 10 units. Okay, so that is our answer. So let me put it across once more. Like any other subtraction with integers, here too we are using a similar concept. The idea of borrow, and when we borrow something, there's an increment of 10 units in the place of borrow, and there is a decrease of 1 unit from where we borrowed. So that discipline has to be maintained. If the numbers are simple and straightforward like this, you can directly subtract them, not an issue, fraction separately and integer separately. But if you end up with this scenario, wherein you have the first fraction to be smaller than the second fraction, then you have to go through this process. And eventually we'll end up with this answer. Right? Yeah, let's practice some more question. For now, you guys can pause and write it off.